Hey everybody, welcome to the H.E.A.T podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
And I'm Alan Jobin.
So, I don't know, there was a couple of fights this weekend. Basically what we're going to talk about today is UFC London. We want to talk about Anderson and Mike. So we're probably actually going to blow through the first couple of rounds talking about that because there's a lot to say. But we'll finish up by, I'm curious your thoughts on Conor versus Nate.
Yeah, should be interesting.
So we'll get to that. But first and foremost, did you have a good weekend?
Had a good weekend, man. Lots of fights. There was Fight Pass was all weekend. It seemed like I watched Glory. One of my friends, Casey, fought. Joe Schilling. A lot of really good fights on Glory, and then obviously the next night was Anderson Silva. So yeah, I was glued to the TV all weekend.
And you're hustling because now you're less than a month out. We're talking 3 weeks to your fight.
3 weeks. I leave for Australia in 2 weeks. So right now it's just kind of like polishing everything off right now.
Nice. Well, we went to a show at Pantages last night, and we'll have to put this picture up. There was this gigantic ad of you. We're walking by like, who's this chump? Like, you're like all ripped. And so it was funny because we took a picture in front of it, and I think people were kind of like, wow, does she think like, what's weird? Because clearly he's taking the picture.
Yeah, her husband's gonna get mad.
I know, and it's just so funny though, but I'm just like, look at this guy. But they're working that ad for you, so good on you.
Yeah, I like it. I enjoy it. I'm gonna go find the spot that you took a picture now and take my own selfie. So.
Nice. I had a billboard up in Times Square one time for this show that I did for CNN. Nice. Yeah, but I didn't really want to take pictures of it, but Wade made me, and
insisted.
Like in hindsight, it's kind of funny to have it, but at the time I was like, I don't want to seem like a conceited dork.
It's cool. Yeah. You show your kids one day. Yeah. Look how cool mom was.
Yeah,
way
was. Yeah, mom might know. Isn't that funny? They bust you on that. The kids will be like, you're not that cool. Like, no, really, baby, I'm cool. Like,
I'm not even my son's favorite fighter. Like, how does that work?
Oh my God.
How does that work out?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Who's his favorite fighter?
Any guy with tattoos, basically.
Seriously?
Yeah. I don't have enough tattoos, so.
That's kind of rough.
Yeah, I know. I need more chest tattoos apparently.
No, you don't. No, you don't. All right, well, folks, so we are in round one here. So obviously we want to talk about Anderson Silva versus Michael Bisping. Well, first let me ask you, how did you see it? Did you agree with the decision of Mike winning?
I didn't think it was a horrible decision to say that. Herb Dean got a lot of flack from this fight saying that he didn't do his job. I thought he did a very good job in standing his ground in some difficult situations. And I thought the scoring wasn't that off. I originally scored this fight a draw. We're going to break it down, but there was a couple different rounds, particularly round 3, which I thought could have actually been a 10-8 round in Anderson Silva, which would have given him the draw. And round 4, which is a really interesting round because Michael Bisping controlled the fight to me for about 4 minutes of that fight, and then Anderson Silva did a lot of damage in the last 30 seconds, 1 minute. So how do you score that? The amount of shots and ring generalship that Bisping controlled it, or the damage factor that Anderson had in that round? So those 2 rounds, depending on how you scored it, tilted the fight one way or the other.
Yeah, and I know, and you're being good, you're being objective because you just came from blackouts. Like,
I am an Anderson Silva fan.
Right,
I really am.
Right, and so am I. And this for me is a tough thing. I'm a big Anderson Silva fan, and clearly I work with Mike, and I really like him. I actually saw it for Mike, 3-2 Mike. I gave him 1, 2, and 4, and the weird thing is, like when you look at them afterwards, Mike's trashed, and Anderson didn't look bad. So that whole thing of damage. I think Anderson definitely obviously inflicted more damage, but Michael scored more points. And going into this fight, that was the whole thing was, you knew it was going to be a volume thing. Like Mike is just volume. And I thought Anderson at first, it took him a minute to kind of get in the zone. So it was like not easy, but you know what I mean? Easier for Michael to win those early rounds.
Right.
But then I saw Anderson starting to heat up, and it was weird because to me there were things that I thought he would do that seemed wide open, like more head kicks and that he finally started to do in round 3. And I was like, well, now we're warming up. So I assumed round 4 he was going to come out and just own him. Yeah. And he didn't.
He let him off the hook. I completely agree. Yeah. I agree on both of those. You would think that with Bisping having somewhat of an eye issue, and it is his
right side.
His right eye.
Really, it's tough for him.
Doesn't have great vision on the right side. Right. Anderson had at one point phenomenal left high kicks. You think he would throw more of them, disguise them behind his left punch as he's done in a couple of the fights. He didn't throw as many head kicks. I think it's somewhat still in his head. The injury to his left shin. I don't think he threw a couple.
Think it's there?
Well, I think I saw him throw a couple low kicks with his left leg during the fight, but I feel like he doesn't really throw them shin to shin or shin to knee anymore. He's very accurate on throwing it shin to his quad. He wants to make sure that he's not hitting any bone. So I think it's somewhat in his head. And then also, I will say that although Anderson is a very flexible guy, as you do get older, your hip flexibility and your kicks, you can see his kick speed isn't as fast anymore. When he throws his kicks, it's more of almost a taekwondo kick where he's popping out the kick, slapping with it rather than turning the hips over. So I think there's a little bit of hesitancy in his head. But he should have came out in that fourth round after he had Mike hurt so badly in the third round and tried to finish him up.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing too, it's funny because Dr. Clapper, the guy who actually did Anderson's his leg thing, he said his leg is actually stronger than it ever. But I know it's a mental thing.
That's what they say, yeah.
But he said it's actually stronger than it will have ever been because when the bones heal, they heal better. But I understand having been there when that happened. I remember like when he came back and he fought Nick, like when he first threw, I was like, oh my God.
You're worried to see him throw a kick.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually in this fight kind of got away from that. I wasn't as worried, but it was weird. Okay, so let's talk about that round. Okay, so round 3. Bad for Michael to worry so much about the mouth guard. And I want to know what you would do in that situation because I understand, you're getting hit and you want to keep your teeth, but you can't call like timeout. You can't just sit there and yell at Herb. You got to keep defending. You got to watch out. I'm not mad at Herb for not jumping in there and giving it because Anderson was pressing forward and you can't just stop it, right?
You can't stop the action. It was such a weird fight, and me and Karyn were talking about this before we started this show. To me, what I see is once you're on this high of a level and you know how to somewhat bend the rules, you know how to control position and once exchanges and in a way of Anderson posturing by climbing the cage. I think in Anderson's head, he knew the fight wasn't over. He probably saw or heard and saw his peripheral vision or heard Herdine say it wasn't over, but he was kind of posturing. He climbed it. He wanted to kind of show his authority. Look, I won. I'm celebrating, selling it, and hope that in the chaos he gets the victory. It's the same thing as when you knock somebody down and you're posturing above them. You're showing them that you're not tired, even though you're really exhausted. You're doing things that experienced fighters do, and he did a lot of experienced moves in this fight. As for Bisping making that brain fart right there, where he called wanted to call a timeout in the middle of an exchange. Although he wasn't getting beat up, when he actually lost his mouthpiece, when I rewatched it, it looked like he was actually the one doing damage. On Anderson, correct?
I think so. And then Herb went over and picked it up, but then Michael got put up against the cage, and then that's when things started.
I want to say that the pressure and the swagger, if you will, of Anderson is what caused him to take that timeout, that brain fart. Because even though Bisping landed a couple punches and lost his mouthpiece while he was punching him, Anderson was in the mode where he was showboating, and he was pushing forward. And even though he was getting punched, he wasn't backing up. He was coming forward. So Michael Bisping thinking, man, I just landed 2 clean shots and Anderson's doing his thing now coming forward. My mouthpiece fell out. Let me call a timeout to kind of break this rhythm. It's like in basketball when somebody scores two 3-pointers, you call a timeout, you want to break that energy. He was trying to ice him, break that energy, and Anderson was having none of it. He's too experienced for that, and he took advantage of that.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, is I definitely think that the fight was not over at that point. Like, I agree that, it was just that the bell rang, but the confusion, all that confusion, and yes, Anderson up there celebrating, the guy's like, listen, the fight's not over, was problematic, and I guess Mike never even got his cut man in there.
It was obvious. Bleeding all over.
I did feel bad, and listen, let's be honest, when round 4 started, Mike was still on, as the saying goes, Queer Street there. Like, he was still just like, I don't know what's going on. Right. And so I fully thought that Anderson was just going to come in and wreck him at that point, right? Because it seemed like it was almost there, like on the games, the energy meter, you know what I mean? Or whatever.
The Mortal Kombat bar was low.
Exactly. So I figured, okay, here we go. Anderson's going to do his thing, and I don't understand why he didn't. And so maybe is it a case of oh man, I thought I finished this dude, now he's still here? Like, do you have to reset? But I don't understand, because to me I feel like I would have smelled the blood and then just gone forward more, and then it was weird because Mike ended up getting the round just on points, really. And I think I'm trying to remember, I think he tagged him maybe once in there, but like, I was surprised that Mike got that round on points after getting so close to being finished.
Yeah, Anderson has become too comfortable in his own skin with being flashy and having. Well, we love having everybody on the edge of their seat. When he's back against the cage, both hips against the cage, and he's doing this, whatever they were calling it, Filipino boxing, Jeet Kune Do, whatever it was, he was parrying punches and rolling. Even though he's losing the fight, it's exciting.
Of course it is.
You've got to love it. I mean, he's like doing the MMA version of Mayweather.
Yes,
he's slipping these crazy punches, and he normally comes back with a good shot or two. But with that said, he put his back on the cage after knocking Mike out at the end of the third round. He should have came on strong, tried to finish it. He put his back on the cage and let Mike come back. Now that fourth round, like I said, Mike came back and he showed the heart of a champion, and he won about a little over 4 minutes of that fourth round. But then at the end of the round, Anderson landed some big shots.
Yes.
He landed, I think he went for that up elbow.
He went for the up elbow. But
he landed a two-punch combo, and then he landed a Superman at the bell, which all were much cleaner strikes than the 4 minutes of kind of glancing blows that Mike. So the fourth round was a pivotal one for me. I don't know how most people scored it.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the whole Anderson thing, like the razzmatazz. I don't. I guess way back when he fought Forrest, there was a part of me that thought, okay, it's a little disrespectful. Because it was just too, and it was also when he did it to, what's his face over in Abu Dhabi, when they were all so furious about it.
Was it when he did Tally's latest?
Yes, and so when he, it can be problematic. Yeah. But I understand where he was coming from in a way that it was like, okay, I'm not even being challenged out here, and now I'm trying to just entertain myself, and but when I see that, and when I saw him finally get to that point in the fight, I got excited because I was like, okay, cool, old Anderson's back, it's playtime, here we go, here comes the hot sauce. And again, like, I really honestly didn't care who won, I just wanted it to be good, and it was. But I was excited about seeing Anderson play that way, because that's when I feel like he's in the zone and stuff's gonna happen. Meanwhile, though, I did keep thinking, okay, why is he not kicking him in the head? No, I don't want Mike to get knocked out that way again. But clearly it's there. And I didn't quite understand that. But I will say that I did think he looked better in the fight with Mike than he did with Nick.
Much better.
When he was supposedly cheating.
Yeah. No, right? the Anderson of old, the older Anderson of old is back, if that makes any sense. He's older, and he's not quite as quick as he was when he was the champion. But in the comparison of this fight and compared to Diaz, we saw a lot of sparks, a lot of that athleticism. He was doing a bunch of phenomenal stuff. He just, in a way, he didn't fight a smart fight. I mean, I hate to even say that about Anderson, because he's one of the smartest fighters out there when he's in the cage, but he just doesn't care so much about what the judges are looking for as much as he cares about showing you, the opponent, that I'm this dominant and I know all these other forms of martial arts, and this is what I could do to you, whereas you're just still very basic Muay Thai wrestling. He's already on another level, and that's what he wants to show you.
You know what it is? It's like the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where the guy's with the knife, and he's doing all this stuff, and then Harrison Ford just pulls out the gun. Right. So that's the whole thing. Like, Mike was consistent with the gun. Mike just was like, you know what? And that's that whole thing. Just keep touching him, just keep scoring points. And even though I know, people say, oh, Mike's got, doesn't hit hard or this or that. Clearly he did, because he wobbled him a couple of times.
He dropped him twice. I mean, he was off balance, but he still dropped him twice.
But still, and then he went in and got on top and went in for it. Yeah. So I feel like, obviously, because he got the win, he deserves the respect. But I feel like people who maybe disrespected Michael, didn't really believe in him as much, I have to believe that after seeing this, you have to recognize that the guy is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like I said, I know him, and I know he's not a bad guy, and I understand people always think of him as the villain, but like, clearly he's a talented fighter.
He's a talented guy, and he speaks his mind, and a lot of people get on him, but that's just his British upbringing. That's just his personality. But you could see when the fight's over, there was some pictures of them both being treated by the doctor where he was giving him props. Immediately after the fight, gave him his props. And now that we're speaking of it, I remember also, Anderson kept trying to do his thing at the weigh-ins where he wanted to give Mike a hug, and Mike kept pushing him. And I loved watching this exchange, this mental battle, where Anderson tries to draw you, and it's okay, but then he's going to try to kill you.
But it was weird, too, though. He was picking his nose and doing all this stuff. Like,
who Anderson was? Oh, my God.
Because they did
That's why I wouldn't shake his hand either.
No, exactly. Who knows? They had a stare down, I guess, out by the Tower Bridge or something, and I guess Mike went to shake his hand at that one. This was maybe Thursday after a press conference. So Anderson didn't shake his hand there. Then at the weigh-in, it looked like Anderson was trying to shake Mike's hand, right? So Mike was like, no, been here before.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for that.
And then followed it up with, I'm going to kick your ass.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But they did touch gloves in the ring.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I found very interesting. The back and forth mental battle that was going back and forth with them. And then, like you said, when the round starts and the referee always says, touch gloves if you want to.
Right.
Mike showed him a sign of respect finally, and Mike finally gave in, and it looked like he touched gloves.
He kind of bowed
and he even kind of said something to him, and it looked like body posture in terms of like, look, you're one of the greatest. You get your respect, but we're about to fight. Like he showed him respect. But then you saw at the end of the first round when they had a heated exchange, Anderson went back to the huggy, loving guy, and Michael was he'd already flipped the switch. He was having none of that. He wasn't going to fall into that trap again. So it was fun to watch, man. I really enjoyed it.
It was fun to watch, and afterwards too, Mike had shared a picture. I guess when they were both getting their medicals, and they kind of shook hands through the curtain or whatever.
I enjoyed that.
But Mike got busted up, so that for that I feel a little bad for him because I don't know how long it will be again until he fights. But of course, Alan, it begs the question: does Mike get a title shot?
I don't see it. I think
why not? You're such a hater.
We're gonna debate this. Me and Karyn are on opposite sides of this one. But I'm gonna speak my mind real quick. So Michael Bisping showed the heart of a champion. He's a great fighter. He's obviously a big draw in his hometown. I don't know if he's a marquee fighter here in the States, but he's a very well-known fighter, and he's starting to make a lot. Well, he's actually made a lot of money in his career, and he's making more.
He's a draw.
I don't see him taking out anybody ahead of him in line. When you look at Yoel Romero, you look at Jacare Souza, you look at Weidman, or you look at
we knew Luke already beat him.
Luke. I don't see Mike doing anything with those guys, and I don't see him making more money against those guys as he would fighting Anderson. So, as Ed Soares already tweeted out today, Ed Soares is lobbying for a rematch in Brazil, and then if Anderson would win that, which I would see him probably winning a rematch if it went down in Brazil, having a trilogy in Vegas. And I'm leaning towards that one. Karyn doesn't like it.
Stupid.
I like it. I say Mike just turned 37. He's at the end of his career. His eye's giving him trouble. He just took a lot of damage. He could fight a marquee style matchup, make the most money that he could probably make in these next 2 more fights in his career. He's got a nice cushy job at Fox Sports 1. Go out with a bang, make a bunch of money, put it in the bank, and then sit there and commentate with this lovely lady.
Here's the thing. Yeah, well, yes, he does.
I'm trying to warm you up before you counter me.
No rematch needed because he clearly won. I think, even though I guess Dana said that he thought Anderson won. Right. But why would I then go let you? Why would I give you a rematch in your hometown? I know, but I get the money thing. Yeah. But to me, okay, we know that Luke has already beaten Michael, and I agree with you that Jacare, like Yoel, is a frightening guy. Like, okay, I don't know that he wants any piece of Yoel. I can see Mike fighting Chris Weidman. I can see that, and then because I think the way things are working out, it'll probably just be a rematch, Luke and Chris. But I actually would like to see Mike fight Chris Weidman. I would like to see that because I feel like based on Chris's last performance, I want to see what went wrong there because I think he's very good. They both have beaten Anderson Silva. Okay, but here's the other thing that is interesting in the mix. If you're talking about money fights too, and I don't know if it's as much of a dynamic. Our dog is stealing everything. So Nick Diaz started talking smack to Mike after the fight. So Nick put out
Nick got into the mix.
Like, God bless him,
Diaz
because
brothers.
I love the Diaz boys. So Nick got into it and he put out some picture and he said, congratulations, you're undefeated in your hometown, whatever. Basically, kind of ripping on the fact that he won in England. He didn't really believe in it. So then Mike comes back to him and he's like, whoa. Oh, you're just sorry? Like you're butthurt because I did something you couldn't do? Right? Touche. Because, Mike beat him.
But it's true.
And it's true. But so then Mike said something like, hey, Nick, if you want to fight,
I like this fight.
I do too.
I didn't know about this fight.
Oh, no, this is a good fight. And then, so Mike said, look, if you want it, I'm here. And he said, actually, I do like Nick Diaz. I always have. I respect the guy. He's like, but yeah, if he wants to throw down, let's throw down.
I'm all for this. Let the shit talking begin.
Smack talk.
Nick Diaz and then Bisping. This would be great smack talk.
Yes.
Two guys that are going to bring it. Yeah.
It would be a good fight.
I like this
and
fight.
And that's a money fight. And to me, that's a money fight that's a little bit different, a little more interesting. Because if anything, aren't we really also thinking Anderson GSP or something like that, a super fight like that or whatever? Like, I feel like Mike either should get a one more thing, Weidman, and then get his title shot or something, or like you said, just go for money. But I don't see the need for a rematch. I really don't. I don't see it.
I understand where you're coming from. I know you showed me a great clip earlier where you interviewed Michael Bisping, and he pretty much said, look, I go to work every day at Fox and I have to sit next to two world champions, and it gets to him. And that right there just shows you his mentality, his mindset.
Yeah.
He wants to be a champion. Even though he's got to fight these monsters, he wants to be a champion, and you can't do anything but respect that. I just don't see him beating those guys. Does he still get to fight those guys? If he deserves it, absolutely, let him fight them. But do I see him climbing his way to the top, beating those guys? I don't see him winning anybody in the top 5.
Well, okay. Well, as we go into round 4 here, I want to talk about Gegard, but also this still kind of ties into the whole middleweight picture. Then, if you don't see him, I agree. I think Luke, though I did think Weidman was going to win. Now that I saw the Luke that I saw in that fight, I don't know that somebody's beating Luke.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I didn't expect that because in the past I had bet against Chris, against Lyoto. I bet, you know what I mean? I was like,
I did every time.
Come on. Weidman, like, he's good, but come on, it's Lyoto Machida. And then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So I never would bet against Chris anymore. So, but the Luke that I saw the other day, or whatever in that fight, I was like, yeah, I don't know if anybody's being Luke for a
He's
while.
going to be tough to beat.
He's going to be very tough to beat. The Yoel Jacare fight was weird and cheaty, like always.
Yeah.
There's always something weird in a Romero fight, but I agree. I think Mike would have a tough time with those guys. That being said, he was supposed to fight Gegard. And Gegard, clearly dominated Talis Leitchis. And he said after, he's like, look, I owned this guy that Mike had to go 5 rounds with and won only a split decision. He said, like, Anderson fought Talis Leitchis years ago and didn't finish him. He's like, and Talis wasn't as good as he is now. Right. So, Gegard's like, look, I know I had that setback, but I should be in the mix too. Do you know what I mean? The fight with Jacare, that second one, it was weird. He was burnt out, and he admitted, he's like, he's like, as soon as they closed the door, he's like, I did not want to be there. Yeah. And it sucks because obviously he was on the rise, and that was a bad time to have an off night. But I wouldn't mind actually seeing Gegard and Mike have the fight that they didn't have.
Yeah, no, that would be an interesting fight. Gegard is, man, I see Gegard as one of the most well-rounded MMA fighters in the UFC, period. He's a guy that in every area he's very strong. Yeah. And he Dan Hardy said some great things during the Gegard fight about how sometimes you have to beat him up before he wants to bring the fight, or sometimes he'll finish your fight right away. You never know which Gegard you're going to get. But either way, man, he will outbox you on your feet. You saw when Lyoto Machida, who's one of the most talented strikers in that division, when he fought Gegard, he'll put hands on you. He's got great boxing, and he pushes the pace, and then his ground game is phenomenal. Even though Talis Leitchis is known for the ground, if there would have been more ground exchanges, I don't think Gegard would have been that worried. He was just playing the percentage game, which is it's safer to be on the feet. But he's absolutely right, man. Gegard's a beast. The one loss that really hurt Gegard was that loss in Japan against
you're right.
When he got knocked out by the Uriah. I'm sorry.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, no, and that really set him back, and that fight really, really frustrates him because he went out there saying, okay, maybe I should try to fight in a more exciting way or whatever, if that's what they want. So he took a risk and he got caught in that. Yeah. So in this one, he went back to the Gegard that he knows is consistent and that works and everything like that. And he's like, look, I'm sorry, I did play the safe game on this time. He's like, because it's BS that I got knocked out by that kick. The fight with Lyoto was close, and even way back when, after that fight, we were talking about it, and he was like, look, the guy was really slick. And this and that. He's like, I don't want to say this. Like, he's like, I'm not going to sit there and I know some people today are making it their headline that he said he was greasy. Well, guess what? He told me that 3 interviews ago. I just didn't think it was the headline because he's not an excuse maker. Do you know what I mean? So he was like, I'm not going to make that the story. We don't want to turn it into that. He's like, I respect Leo. It is what it is. That being said, he maybe should have another chance at him because he feels like maybe something was up with that. But he's a guy that I know people sort of don't regard as well as they should, but they should.
Yeah.
The dude has won like 47 fights or something, and he's only like 30.
A ton of experience. It's just his demeanor, his demeanor that he brings in the ring.
Right.
But
he's actually a really good guy with a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of like I joke, but you kind of have to earn it. Like otherwise he'll just be chill, whatever. But there's a lot more to him than I think people understand.
Yeah. Maybe the UFC should put a little bit more.
Well, Dana was even saying how much he likes him.
Back him a little bit more. Let the UFC fans learn more about Mousasi, because he's kind of just like this quiet
guy who's getting forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah, but going back to what you said, I really do like those two matchups. Aside from the trilogy, Anderson Silva and Bisping, and I'm trying to help you out, Ed Suarez Blackhouse. I'm trying to.
I'm totally down with those guys.
Those are the money fights and everything.
I say Anderson GSP. That to me, that's money.
I can't turn that down either.
Money.
But Diaz and Bisping really sounds like a fun fight.
Dude,
and then obviously Mousasi and Bisping would just be a very interesting fight, but it doesn't sound as fun to me as a Diaz and Bisping. Yeah,
and the Gegard wants to get on the, there's a Rotterdam card in May. And so he wasn't sure, if the timing was going to work out for that. So he wants to get on that card if he can, because he's like, it's 40 minutes from my house, obviously. But he's not sure what they're going to do because they've already got Overeem in there and they've already got Struve. So he said, I don't know where I would end up being on the card. And then maybe it would be kind of weird because he's a bigger name than he's a bigger name than Stefan Struve, but they've already given him, the fight as one of the locals,
Gotcha.
So I don't know how that all would work out, but luckily he didn't. I was talking to him after we were texting. I asked him. I said, "Yeah, you look like you didn't really take any damage," and he said just some of the low kicks, So he says the legs are like a little sore, but other than that, so I think he'd be cleared to fight way sooner than Mike.
Yeah,
is my point on that. Like, 'cause you can't have Mike and
I think most everyone on that card is going to be cleared before Mike, unfortunately. But you know what? He probably earned himself a nice paycheck. It was his birthday. He's got time. He doesn't need to rush right into it. I know he is getting older. He's 37. You said.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mike. But he doesn't need to rush in anything. He's got a job right now outside of the cage making money as well. He just beat one of the greatest of all time. Yes. Sit back and enjoy it for a while. Spend some time with your family. Let that fire ignite again, and then let everything heal up, and then go back in there and get a good fight. Diaz or Anderson.
And he did.
I'm lobbying.
I love that. You just put that one right in. So speaking of the epic smack talk here in round 5, I want to look forward a little bit. We were at the just bonkers bananas Conor McGregor Nate Diaz press conference the other day. I feel like we're actually getting cheated because I wish we had the lead up of the Diaz Conor smack talk.
It needs more time.
We're being cheated.
It needs more time to blossom.
But how do you feel about this fight? Who did you think when you heard Rafael wasn't going to be able to fight? Who did you think they would have fight Conor?
Well, I thought it was obviously going to be either Conor or Diaz. Cowboy. Thank you, or Diaz. I was kind of leaning towards Cowboy, but Conor explained it very well actually when he explained about the fight would. It was either going to be pretty much them two. Said the other guys, people were either injured or not in shape, and then Diaz did beat Cowboy back in the day, so it does make him. And it makes him a more attractive fighter since he beat him. But also, I feel like this is also a better fight. I feel like Diaz is an easier fight. I don't want to say easier, but it's a better matchup for Conor than Cowboy. Cowboy is more dynamic, and even though Diaz beat Cowboy, I think Cowboy would give Conor a lot more trouble than Diaz will.
Okay, so I was curious about this too, and we know after Cowboy had beaten the other Cowboy that it was just days before, like it was like, oh my God, it's Kismet. It's the typical Cowboy story. They're just gonna be rolled right back in on the horse and save another fight. But I'm glad they didn't. Not glad is not the right word.
I thought it would have been overkill too, though. He's already like the guy that takes the fight on the last minute. I'm glad. I wanted Cowboy initially, but I'm glad that they went with Diaz.
I do love that whole Diaz attitude, and I love that, even though he has a short camp, if you can even call it that, that he's ready to throw it at. I like that Nate is definitely dangerous when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And we know that when Nate fights like he should, he can light you up. You know what I mean? He's got that long reach. It's going to be interesting. When we saw them the other day at the press conference, I talked to the guys, and actually I think they'll probably air my interviews with them on UFC tonight. Like, Nate's much bigger in terms of height, you know what I mean? Like, so he's like 6 feet or 6'1".
Yeah.
You know, Conor's essentially my height, 5'8", 5'9", whatever, and that's going to be a factor. I don't know exactly what the whole reach thing is, but you know, Conor is so fast and he moves in such an unpredictable way that I feel like we might have a case of Nate chasing him, and that worries me a little bit. But I do feel like if it gets on the ground, Conor's going to have some issues.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's got to be part of, if not his plan A, it's got to be his plan B.
But it's not like he's a great takedown guy, though,
He's
right?
not a great takedown.
Yeah.
He's not a great wrestler, but the Diaz brothers do have great sweeps and great throws. You'll see him do some great judo throws now and then, and they have good sweeps somewhere in the clinch to get it down. It's more of a jiu-jitsu type wrestling, you know, to get you down. That would be super interesting to see Nate Diaz on top of Conor McGregor.
Can't you see him throwing up the triangle and like
flicking off the camera? I mean, it would be pretty epic smack talk on the ground if they start verbally going at it.
Ridiculous, like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, because, you know, honestly, Conor has proven to us that there's no reason to doubt him. You know what I mean? I am a little bit curious, though, going up 2 weight classes. I know he talked about it before. He was like, I'm gonna beat, you know, I'm gonna win at 155, and then I'm gonna go up to 170 and this and that. Like, I love his belief in himself, but that is different. And maybe Nate's the perfect 170, because while he has consistent boxing, he's not like Mr. Power.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like Robbie Lawler's going in there to bash your face or whatever. So I like that. I think I think Conor has a better chance against Nate than he would against some of these other guys or whatever. But I don't know. Like, I guess I like that I don't know, but there's a part of me that's just like, what the hell? I don't know.
The way I see this fight somewhat playing out is, Nate Diaz has shown in the past to have trouble against really good kickers. He eats leg kicks. He's not known for checking leg kicks, and he gets caught up sometimes with the when people play, like, they'll punch low, kick high, like kind of those tricky punch kick games.
Which Conor might.
Josh Thompson did was a really good one. He threw a right hand, right kick and tricked him into that one. He's showed a little weakness for kicks. Obviously, Conor McGregor is a phenomenal kicker, very flexible, very powerful. I think the kicks are going to be the thing that's going to open it up. And then Nate Diaz just needs to kind of make it an ugly fight, not walk into anything, but he needs to just be putting hands in Conor's face, like 2, 3, 4, 5 punch combos.
Wouldn't you do that whole annoying, like, wouldn't you get your hands in his face, like, as much as you could?
He's going to have a reach advantage, and I really, really hope that they get to talk a lot of shit during the fight, because you know what, for the press conference, they kind of went back and forth a little bit, but this is what I took from it. I feel like, you know, Nate Diaz is wanting, the Diaz brothers, everybody loves a big money fight, but you know, they want the big fights. They want the money. And I feel like it was one of these things, like, they were waiting by their phone to see who did Conor pick? Who's going to get? Did we get the fight? And so they were almost like celebrating. Conor picked us. And I feel like it gave Conor the mental advantage. Because it's almost like, I'm giving you the opportunity to fight me, and as he likes to say, red penny night. I think he's making like, what, $1 million or something?
He makes such bank.
Yeah, so Diaz is getting pretty much, because Conor picked Diaz gets the chance to fight the biggest fight of his life and make $1 million. So I felt like at the press conference, Nate Diaz wasn't really like the normal pissed off, I'm going to beat your ass. Because in a way, he kind of felt like it was like a gratitude towards Conor for picking him. He would now and then mumble something like, yeah, well, you know, it's different, or you fought small guys. But it wasn't the normal Nate Diaz in your face, I'm going to beat your ass, because he was somewhat gracious for Conor picking him, and it gave Conor the mental advantage.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I actually, for UFC Tonight, I interviewed Nate before the press conference. And, you know, he's in good mood. Like, you know, he's a good dude. And he actually does have a lot of nice things to say about Conor as a martial artist. Like, he definitely has a great appreciation for how he's trying to elevate the game and his thoughts of it. Like, he does respect him. But he burned him on that line about the belt, where Conor's like, I don't even care about the belt. And he's like, then why do you bring it everywhere? Dude,
I like that. That was good.
That was money. That was
a good comeback.
But, you know, and maybe Nate's just, maybe because, he really isn't that mad at him.
Yeah.
Or maybe he didn't have enough time to get that mad at him yet. I don't know. I think it's going to be crazy. We'll be out there for MMA Heat. Wade's leaving Wednesday morning to open workouts, going Wednesday night at this show, and then as it stands right now, I might actually be going to do a Harley-Davidson viewing party in San Diego on Saturday, but I feel like things are in flux. It might have been my boss calling me. But regardless, everybody's going to have their eyes on this. And quickly, are you taking Holly or Misha?
Oh, I've got to go with Holly.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to pick her because she did the impossible. Right. She beat the once in a lifetime, as she was quoted. So yeah, I'm going with Holly. You know, I'm a fan of H.E.A.T as well, but yeah, Holly Holmes right now, man, she's doing the impossible, so I'll be rooting for her.
I think Holly gets it too, but I think it's going to take her longer than it did to finish Ronda, because Misha is a girl that like just doesn't stop. Like
and much more well-rounded. She doesn't have the holes.
Right, great wrestling. She can let her hands go, and Misha's just way tough. Like she just doesn't. She's not going to quit. You know what
saw
I mean? She's not going to quit.
She doesn't tap to broken arms.
Right,
she has no quit in her.
Yeah, I think, but you know, I agree with you. Like after what we saw with Holly, when she just put it all together like that, it's like, well.
She moves differently than some of the other girls in the division. She's very muscular and she moves very fluid. And it's gonna take H.E.A.T a lot of energy, expend a lot of energy trying to get her down. And even if she gets it down, I feel like she's gonna pop right back up, Holly Holmes, and inflict more damage. But it's gonna be a fun fight, man.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. So you said you leave in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm off to Brisbane in 2 weeks for my fight. My fight's March 19th. Mir and Hunt. And
so you're feeling good?
I feel excellent. You know, a lot of fighters say this is the best I've ever felt, and a lot of times we have to lie. We say that. You know?
Totally.
We don't know who's
Best
watching
I've
this.
ever had.
Yeah, but I truly feel this is the best I've ever been in all aspects of my game, and I can't wait to display it.
Very nice. Well, we're looking forward to it. In the meantime, social media-wise, everybody can find you.
Same as always, at Alan Jovan. Check me out, guys.
And you can find him up on Hollywood Boulevard in a big giant ad if you want to go and do funny. Luckily, people
go take a selfie.
People respect you. There was no like Hitler mustache on it or anything.
God,
you know what I mean? There was nothing like.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, there was nothing weird.
Nobody's been tagging it just yet.
Nobody's tagged you or drawn anything weird on you. So you got fans up there in Hollywood Boulevard, because we know Hollywood Boulevard can get dicey.
Yeah.
It's not like that's like the best part of town. So
I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, cool. So you can find me at Karyn Bryant on Twitter, Karyn Bryant on YouTube. We have MMA Heat on YouTube and Facebook, obviously. KB Heat on Instagram. And again, so we have a UFC tonight this weekend. It's going to be loaded with stuff. And if they don't put, I think they're going to put the whole things out. But even if you see a little bit of my interviews with Conor and Nate on the show, they told me they'll put the rest of it out online as well. So that should be good to go. So yeah,
nice. Check it out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming back over.
My pleasure. Always
great.
good.
It's just nice having you here.
I'm starting to bring family.
Oh yeah, bring a family. It's great. Next time we'll have a potluck lunch or whatever. It's gonna be great. I love Thai food. Please, let's make it happen.
She cooks.
Oh my God. Got it. Make it happen. All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next time.